This is the Phoenix mind, where the fire refines, break the chains and rise to shine. Rise on the lead with heart, every end a brand new start. With Lisa Manzo we transform, we ignite. This is the Phoenix mind.
Hi, I'm Lisa Manzo, your host of the Phoenix Mind podcast. And today, my special guest is Dr. Phil Agrios. And let me tell you about Phil. Phil is a self-sabotage expert, business consultant, best-selling author, and international speaker. After building a thriving health center, he faced devastating personal challenges, including a debilitating illness that caused him to shut down his practice, devastating divorce, financial collapse, and nearly losing his daughter, along with so much more hardships that led him to uncover hidden sabotaging trait that we are all born with. From this discovery, he created the T Now method, which empowers people to instantly switch off this trait and break free from self-sabotage. Today, Dr. Phil Agrios helps individuals and organizations worldwide achieve lasting success in their professional lives, relationships, health, and personal growth. Hi, Phil. Welcome.
Lisa, so great to see you again. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I'm so glad you're here because I love talking about this. Tell us a little bit more about your story in like 2 to 3 minutes, because you talk about in your bio about thriving healthcare center that collapsed and personal loss and challenges. We want to hear your story because we want to know how you made it through.
So, yeah, went through a lot of stuff. For those of you who are listening who have gone through a lot of traumas and things like that, the one thing that really got me through it was that this was happening for my benefit. And it was happening for my benefit. How is this going to relate to others so I can benefit them? So going through a lot of what you explained in your introduction is that if I never went through all those things, I would never be here talking to you, nor would I have never discovered the T Now method that has helped thousands of people. So, we were just talking about this, is that if a lot of people ask me, give me one thing I can do to kind of let go of certain things that happened in the past. Because with my past, I have no regret, because if it never happened, I would not have evolved to who I am today and helping people in the way I'm helping them now. And I tell people all the time is that if you can find a benefit out of the situation in the past, and if you have a hard time with that, look on Netflix or other streaming platforms for real life stories about people who have gone through a lot. And when you start seeing in the beginning of the movie how these horrible things that are happening to them, but at the end, you can see where they took it into another level to help not only themselves, but other people. That's what's happening with you too. So whether or not it was your parents or siblings or uncle, but whomever that you went through these different experiences, if you can find a benefit, how it helped you to evolve, and how have you impacted other people with that as well, then there's a benefit. So there's no need for anyone to say, I'm sorry, or for you to say, I'm sorry if you did the same thing to others, because if someone benefits from it, there's no need to forgive. Forgive is to forgo. So if I'm able to benefit from something, I have received it. And if I accept it, therefore I've already let that go in regards of looking at it, whether as it was good, whether it was bad, or it just is. I do my best to look at things as just is and not look at them as being bad or good, because how many times, if you think about in your past, something that you thought was great turned not so good. And those are things that you thought was horrific turned out better for you. So if I can give that kind of thought process for everybody, I hope that helped.
Yeah, no, I think that's so interesting because, until I had met you, I never like looked at it from that perspective about, well, hey, what's the benefit here? And it's such a great tool to have in my toolbox now. Okay, what's the benefit? What did I gain from it? What did I gain from all the struggles? And there are countless things that I can tell you I've gained from them. I'm way more resilient. I'm still here. I'm still going. And now I'm bringing all of this out into the world so people can understand that they can be joyous and be present and let go.
Yeah, because a lot of times people are praying for something. Have you ever had this situation, and those of you who are listening, think about this, where you prayed for something and something, quote, bad happened. You went, see, God's punishing me, or the universe doesn't like me, or this is how it happens, or whatever the case may be. And what I teach my clients is that is your answer. That is the gift. So maybe what the bad thing was is to force you to disconnect from something so you can move forward and connect to what you really want. But you're looking at the disconnection, the thing that went wrong compared to what went right. So people say, oh, my life is falling apart. And I said, absolutely. But it's also falling together. What side are you looking at of the trees falling, right? So you all have everything within you. You are Mother Teresa, you're the murderer, you are the loving person, you are the hateful person, you're the ugly person, you're the beautiful person. Everything is within you. It is up to you how you want to tap into that to show yourself in the world. So at that moment, I used to say, when I was going through a lot of stuff, I used to say, I wonder what gift I'm getting. I wonder what gift I'm getting. Well, this is going to be one hell of a gift after this situation. And then later I realized I already got the gift. The gift was already there. The experience I was going was my gift. So at that moment, it was for me to look, okay, I asked for this. I received this. How is this experience going to move me forward? And if it moves me backwards, maybe I'm moving too fast and it's trying to pull me away. So, I don't run in the street and get hit by a car, or whatever. I don't get into this great quick scheme business and I lose everything, or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of sitting back and whether it's God, universe, source, if you don't believe in any of that, your higher consciousness, your wisdom, whatever you want to say, that is a partner with you trying to show you the way. And it's up to us to focus on what we want, act as if we have already received it, and then disconnect from the outcome that we think should happen. And to me, that's where a lot of people misunderstand. They're expecting A, but B was so much better, but they didn't see it because they're so focused on A.
That's right, because you rarely get what you ask for in the form you expect it to come in. That I've learned.
Absolutely.
And if your eyes aren't open to the other avenues, you're going to miss it completely and it's going to pass you by, and it was there in the moment. I've looked back and I've seen, oh, it was over there and I was looking here and I totally missed it. And because hindsight, of course, is 2020, right?
Yeah, right. It's the same thing as, when you get your new car and all of a sudden you see more cars that you have than you did before, because now you're focusing on that car. They were there, but you didn't see them because you weren't focusing on them. It's the same thing. The old test where you look for red all around the room and then the person says, where's brown? And you're like, I don't know, because you're focusing on red. So if you're focusing on life is miserable, life is, things happen to me and all this other stuff and all this, negative or just putting yourself down type of situation, then you have to continually bringing things, people, and events in your life to reinforce that vibration that you're focusing on. And as soon as you start focusing on something different, and it's not about, I got to be positive. It's about just looking at the benefit out of things. And what I found is that when you start to shift into getting out of that vibration, two things happen. You bring in things to go back to the old you because you're more comfortable there. And at that moment, you need to say, thank you so much for the opportunity to go back to the old me, but this no longer serves me. The new me serves me. And then your brain goes, oh, this is a fluke, man. This is, they don't believe. Let's continue bringing these things in to see if they're really serious. And after a while, you consistently say, no, this is what I truly want. Then you have to bring people, things, and events in to reinforce the new you. It's law.
Yeah, so I totally get that. And I want to say it the way my brain receives it because, everybody receives things differently. So
Hmm.
I know that when I want something new to happen, the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, will give me some of the old stuff that I've been experienced. And I need to say no because the universe wants to understand that I'm really serious, that I want this change, and will give me the old stuff back just to make sure that I really want the change before it actually gives it to me.
Absolutely. And because subconsciously, what you want, let's say you're looking for fireworks and red balloons keep on showing up, the fireworks subconsciously is saying that's too dangerous. We've been there before. It didn't work out well. So I'm going to continue bringing the red balloons that you don't want, but that's more comfortable and safer for you.
Yeah, the mind is so interesting. It's like you want this consciously, but subconsciously your brain is saying no way.
Well, it's not only the brain, it's also your gut and your heart. All three work together as as the subconscious because we think subconscious of just brain. The consciousness is how we view things, our thoughts, how we feel things through our gut, and how we enact and move forward through our heart. And all three coming together create what we see in the outside world because that outside world is a reflection of what's going on inside.
So how did you learn that your brain, your heart, and your gut are all aligned and how did you
It's through my discovery. So during the discovery over the last 30 years, researching thousands and thousands of people, I was able to discover a inborn sabotaging trait, a hidden trait that you are actually born with. You can't get rid of it. And it's there to protect you because we think self-sabotage is being undermined. It's actually self-protection because the very thing, as I spoke to before, the very thing that you are focusing on, that you want, is more painful to achieve and sustain. So we go back doing the same thing over and over again and being stuck because it feels that it's more safe. And depending on the person, so out of the traits, I discovered there are only 3 traits that make up who we are. And each trait, we call them the director, the supplier, and the communicator, because all 3 so what we do as humans, we direct, we supply, and we communicate it. That's all we do. But each trait, like the director, will focus on our thoughts. It is how we look at things. What direction I will keep on moving in, or do I move in the other direction? The other one being how we supply is through our feelings. We supply each other through our feelings and things like that. And depending on how we are perceiving this back and forth, is whether our feelings this is what we really want to do. And then the communication is about enacting, is connecting or disconnecting from things we don't want to do. So we found that the heart and heart math, heart math, it's a company that showed that the heart magnetism is how the electromagnetic field is our physical field of how we actually connect and communicate with each other. And then there's a book called The Second Brain, where it showed that the gut is where that sixth sense is, where it's how our feelings and what we're feeling that, this doesn't feel right. And that's our gut talking to us. So they also found that in the gut, as well as the heart, there are actually neurites in there, and where it can act without the brain. So it can work together by itself, but together it's an interconnectiveness. So in that aspect is depending on how you're born, it is whether or not you need mindset. And 2/3 of the people of the world don't need mindset. They need heart set or they need feel set. And that's where it gets very distinct of I'm focusing on the wrong trait, and that's why things are not working well for me. Does that make sense? I kind of went through a little bit.
then whoever if they have more questions, they can reach out to you and ask.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all three working together, and that's through my years of discovering what I did, what I have, and that's where enabled me to really show that it's just about not about mindset; it's about the other two combined with mindset.
Right. And so which one is your inborn sabotaging trait?
Mine is the mindset where, I will feel or act first before I think in many cases when I'm in a protective state. But I've learned in the past where if I start to go into that, I know how to shift it quickly and now know to start thinking and what's going on. Other people are about feeling first. They don't want to feel. They are always focusing on everybody else's feelings and not their own because they don't trust their own feelings and it feels very uncomfortable. Other people need to express, they need to act and initiate first because they have a hard time expressing themselves because they may feel they may lose credibility if they speak up, or they may feel stupid or embarrassed. So it all depends on how the person is born with what sequence, and this is how they'll go for the rest of their life, showing them how they deal with adversity, no matter how big or small, and how to switch it off instantly, and it works 100% of the time.
That's awesome. I just like love talking about this stuff and the heart, the brain, and the gut working together. That's I knew about the heart and I knew about the brain and I knew intuition with the guts, but I didn't realize how all whole intricately they were involved together.
Right.
And so you said that you can use your heart and your gut without your brain. That's interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it's involuntary. It's just how it's doing on its own. The heart has its own neurites, so we can work without the brain in some instances, not all instances, and so can the gut. That's why the gut-brain connection is very important. I don't know if you ever heard of leaky gut equals leaky brain. So a lot of times brain fog and things like that are not really coming from the brain. It's coming from the leaky gut causing an inflammatory reaction, causing the brain to have a problem. So by fixing the gut, you can also fix the brain indirectly.
So that's so awesome. And you figured this out through your struggles, right? Through your struggles of the your business closing and all that stuff.
Yeah, all the things I went through was for me to go deeper, go into despair, go into why that, why me and, why not me, right? In that time. And it's okay to go into those. When people, I sometimes feel like, I feel really bad when I do this. I said, like, you're just human. It's how long are you there for, right? I don't care if you go into the corner, suck your thumb, get on the floor in a fetal position with your pillow. And people are like, why are you okay with that? And I said, that's how that person's protecting themselves. The problem is how long are they there for? So whether or not you're scattered all over the place, or you consistently overly give to people and take advantage of you, or you can't express yourself, or whatever, all the other 100 things, procrastination, imposter syndrome, at that moment, you're just protecting yourself. So the question is how quickly can I get out of it? How can I close that gap faster? Is where leaders really move forward and impact others, and how people that are very influential can get out of that quicker. It doesn't mean they don't go through it. They go through it, but they can get out of it faster.
Wow. Yeah, I could see how that would relate because the slower you are at removing yourself, the longer it takes for you to progress.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I love talking about this stuff and getting different people's perspectives on it. And so businesses, right? I know this, I've learned this from you, and I want my audience to hear it. So businesses, this affects businesses too. How does it affect a business? This,
Well, yeah. So what we found was that each business also has a protective sequence. So what we teach is showing how business owners or executives or career-driven people that work for a business, by understanding how the business is structured, we show them how they subconsciously, as well as their employees or their staff, subconsciously sabotage the business. For instance, some businesses are very value driven, right? They're focusing all about value and value and value, which is great. However, if it creates an imbalance one of the things could be is that the reason why the value isn't sustained or people are complaining, it's not about the value, it's about their management. Maybe they're disorganized and their management isn't following through on certain things. So you have to look at the management part. That's the saboteur, the inborn sabotaging trait of the business. And by using what we call the T-Now method to help that, what happens is now their management becomes more effective, and now their value of their company increases because all the other aspects of the business can drive value much more effectively, and customers are served more effectively now that things are moving structurally and they're following through or whatever that is, compared to before, where they had a great product but they didn't have people to back that up or service that person.
Why, it's so interesting that it crosses. I guess it shouldn't be that much of a surprise to me. It crosses into the business because people are running the business, and these are people traits.
Right. And it depends on the owner or the people that created the business, how it's coming together felt that this was the sequence that was best for them without them even knowing it. We've had many clients, I remember one client who had some major decisions to make about her business. And I said, before you even answer those questions, I want you to go through the program, go through the week training that I have specifically on this. And when she came back and we talked about it, her original decisions changed, and she realized the original decisions before she knew what the business was all about would have caused more problems for her. But then as she understood the business, and it's where she was focusing too much on and not enough on, then when she made those decisions, her business exploded even faster. So it was a key moment for people. I have business owners completely say, wow, I never looked at it this way. I would have done this, but now I know what to do. And then they start seeing their business grow even faster.
It's just life in general is so interesting, and different ways that people learn to get through stuff. It's just like mind-boggling to me. And I'm so glad that you're here because I love talking about, the mind. It's just so interesting thing to me. So what's one of the biggest rise from the ashes moments that really helped you and that like really was a pivotal point in your life that you said you got this aha right then and there? Even if it's just repeated, if you said it already, it's good.
Um, what comes to mind was when I first found the hidden sabotaging trait. I remember sitting on my living room floor, going through major divorce, a lot of stuff was happening. And when I first found it, I was like, this is too simple. Wait a minute, is this really true? And then I focused on me and I started to see how all that I was doing through the protection of those years landed me where I was. And during that time, I was able then to discover what we call the antidote to switch it off instantly. So at that moment was that, wow, it's simple. It isn't as complicated as I'm seeing it, because everything that's happened to me is coming down to just this one trait, this one protective trait. And as I started to talk to patients and loved ones and really started to see how this started to work, it took years. This wasn't like, oh, I found something and let's just go out there and tell people. This is like 30 years of my life, because there's nothing like this in the world. And when there's nothing like this and no one else discovered it, you have to go through many trials and tribulations, especially personally, for it to come out of you and to see how things moving forward. So that was a pivotal moment for me, thinking that it's not 2 steps, 5 steps, 12 steps, 10 steps, whatever. It's just one thing to focus on for the rest of my life. And my reputation being very important to me, I had to go out and prove it. And not only did I prove it, we found the way to switch it off. And over thousands of people, this works 100% of the time, and no one's ever disproven it.
That's awesome. So did you work on your family and friends first? Is that how you proved it, or how'd you do that?
I didn't work on anybody. I observed to see if this was right. And then with my patients, because my patients, before this, I was very much into learning from the greats, from Robbins to Rhodes to Zig Ziglar to all these guys. And I would try to help my patients with that and not just work on them on the physical level or with nutrition and stuff, helping them with their mind and understanding that. And then when I started bringing this in to kind of, oh, wow, this works well. How about this? Or no, this doesn't work for me. And then I go back, well, why wouldn't it work? And then realizing, oh, I'm using different words. And these words are really the same synonymous words. So as I started shifting it, people were going, yeah, that works for me, but it was still the same thing. So, it just took years of my life and my time to really get this to a point of making it so simple. Didn't say it was easy, simple to understand and to quickly shift, that it took that long. But yeah, I would think that would be the pivotal moment of understanding of why I was going through what I was going through.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, like, about 10 years ago, I was working in this job, right? And I had a couple of nurses that were, quite a few years younger than me, about 20 years younger than me, and they would come to me and they would tell me that what they were struggling with, and I'm like, you guys are just overcomplicating this. You're
Yeah.
just complicating this. This is really simple. You just need to say this, whatever it was, right? And it's
Hmm.
like you figured that out that we as people seem to overcomplicate things and unnecessarily.
Yeah, because they're too close to it. So
Right.
it's just helping them to pull it out a little bit and to see it in a different perspective for them to make that aha moment.
Yeah, that's great. So Phil, I got about two more questions for you.
Sure.
The first question is, so even if you repeat something or if you want to give some new advice, what is something you can tell my audience right now that is if they're struggling with something that they can do?
Um, well, besides finding the gift within the past struggles or traumas that you've had earlier, um, when you're going through something at that moment, ask yourself, why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? Why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? That shifts it into not how life is happening to me, but how it benefiting me, from me, through me, and for me. Is this person representing something that happened in the past, or how am I doing the same thing as this person is doing to me? Or if this person tells me, you do this, this, and this, is it truth? And am I not really being honest with myself where the person is basically telling me how to improve and I'm pushing it away because of my ego or whatever the case may be? But at that moment, saying that question helps you to kind of look at it in a different moment, to neutralize it, and not to take it so personally.
Awesome. I love it. I think that's great. And so my last question is, how can people reach you when they want to learn more from you?
They can go, I'm on social media all over the place, but they can go to thetnowmethod.com, thetnowmethod.com, and there they can see where they can pick something that might be best for them to start learning what this method is all about.
And for you, those of you that are watching this, it's right there next to his name, the T Now Method. Well, Phil, thank you so much for being my guest today. And this has been Lisa Manzo, another episode of the Phoenix Mind podcast, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.
This is the Phoenix Mind, where the fire refines. Together we rise, transform our lives. So subscribe, share the